instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say, I love you. And yet many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? Well, I'd like to suggest there are a number of habits that we need to move away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an exhaustive list, but these 7, I think, are pretty large. Habits that we can all fall into. First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody who's not present. Not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother, in the last years of her life, became very, very negative, and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, it's October the 1st today, and she said, I know, isn't it dreadful? It's hard to listen when somebody's that negative. And another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is the national art of the UK. It's our national sport. We complain about the weather, about sport, about politics, about everything. But actually complaining is viral misery. It's not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy, and maybe we've all been this guy. Some people have a blame thrower. They just pass it on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for their actions. And again, hard to listen to somebody who's being like that. Penultimate, the 6th of the 7, embroidery, exaggeration. It demeans our language, actually, sometimes. For example, if I see something that really is awesome, what do I call it? And then, of course, this exaggeration becomes lying, out and out lying, and we don't want to listen to people we know are lying to us. And finally, dogmatism. The confusion of facts with opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind. You know, somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's difficult to listen to that. So here they are, 7 deadly sins of speaking. These are things I think we need to avoid. But is there a
Welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Anthony Hubbard, and I have my co-host, Miss Stephanie Holland Passmore, and we are on the door to expansion. And today's topic, as you see, is we dealing with consider the source. And the reason why this topic came about is because, we sit and think about the different people that we receiving everything from. I just seen somebody, one of the 2 news anchors actually just wind up quitting their jobs. And it was quite odd to me. One guy from Fox and then another guy from, I think it's MSNBC. Both of them had little cryptic messages on what the reason why they was leaving their jobs. But hey, whatever their reason was, they no longer there. So hey, it is what it is. So like the show say, hey, let's consider the source on where we getting our stuff from. But before we jump into it, like I said, I am Anthony Hubbard, and I'm the owner and founder of Speak to My Heart Life Coaching. And anybody who don't know what a life coach is somebody who's here to hold you accountable for the things that you might be experiencing or trying to get to, or a point that you're trying to get to. And the reason why it's called Speak to My Heart is because it's not coming words from myself. I always look for intervention myself and then make sure I'm speaking words that's going looking to inspire and motivate you to do what you need to do. So I'll let Miss Stephanie Holland Passmore tell you a little bit about herself.
Hey there, y'all should be familiar with this face, this voice, but for those who are new to the door to expansion, Stephanie Holland Passmore. I am a marriage and family therapist, mental health counselor. I am the sole practitioner for the Narrative Shift Counseling and Consultation here in the Pacific Northwest. And I facilitate healing. That's what I do as a therapist, facilitate healing that can occur within oneself and relationships. And I'm glad we're talking about considering the source and communication style, because as a life coach and as a therapist, we have to be careful of our words and how we present to our clients and patients. So, yeah.
So, just to jump back and just jump into this topic right here. Uh, so this is one of the questions I posted in a Facebook community, door to expansion community. So, due to words or messages from a supervisor, and I kind of expounded that, but I just shortened it up on here. That is different religion, sex, creed, nationality, political party, or race impact you the same way as someone that shares similarities as you. And got a couple people that responded, and so here's one. I believe what I believe. Everyone has a right to their own beliefs. I try not to let those other people influence me, but by seeing what is happening around me. So, and that comment right there, you can take it a couple different ways. Because me personally, I think that if I do have a belief, and whomever is trying to convey a message to me, and I still hold on to what I believe in, and depending on what they're talking about, I think that, and to me, I think that will be the key portion of it. So if somebody is telling me something that's, I guess, contrary to what I believe, and it's in a leadership role, then I would have to question that. If there's just some information that's just being put out to me, I would question that as well. But at the same time, yes, I think I would agree with this right here. I'm gonna still believe what I believe, but also question the source. What say
What say I? They say I try not to let those other people influence me, but by seeing what is happening around me. So I guess that person, what I'm reading from this person is that they can be very aware, and they have an awareness of how that person can impact, whether that's negative or positive. So aware of not only surrounding, but considering that source too. So yeah, that goes for me as well too. People can have their own belief system, um, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be like what they like, or um, listen to them according to their own belief systems. I think that can be separate from how they lead, supervise, manage.
and that was, I think that's another thing, especially when we talking about leadership. And I think one of the things, so we in this political world right now, and everybody have their different feelings on what leaders or politicians that we had in office over the years, and depending on what you actually believe, and then you sit up there and listen to somebody else. And I think that's probably where the real question came from, is because if I told you something, if I told you something and you didn't share the same beliefs or rights that I did, would it still impact you the same way? So, if we would say Dr. Martin Luther King and then his speeches and everything, if I was a person who didn't believe in segregation and all this other stuff, even with the words that he say, would I still hold firm to what his belief was? And I think that's probably really where I was trying to come from in a way, whenever we started talking about somebody outside of leadership, as far as, a leader or a supervisor or anything like that. Because I think the words might hit different to everybody, depending on, considering the source.
It's all in presentation, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
It's all in presentation, how we box it up and how we present it to someone. You know, someone, may sit in front of me. Like a lot of times I go into white spaces. And so I have to do this code switching, or be more aware of how I present. Um, because if I have something to say or a message that needs to be delivered, you know, it's all in how I articulate that, how I come across to have impact. So I guess it's also in the intention. What am I intending on here with my message? It's that power differential in communication style.
And and since you mentioned that, we'll get into a little about what we considered hell, HAIL. Man, I'm going
Come
crazy.
with it.
You know what I'm saying? But we'll talk a little bit about that, and some of the things that you mentioned right then and there is going to be some of the stuff that we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. And here's another comment that we had. So I had asked the question of the lady. So would you listen to or be led by someone who doesn't share the same beliefs or think like you? And the response was, I might listen, but would not be led by. So at that same time period, you got to be conscious on the stuff that you're listening to. And I think no matter who you are, where you are, what's being said, that's a true statement. Be very conscious on the message that's coming out of there because you just don't know.
Well, you have to be a little careful of that because even though she said, I may listen, but I might not be led, that's that quiet influence. You continue to hear that same message, they deliver it in different ways. You start to condition that same thinking and you wake up, or you come to the realization, I just switched my perspective. I've changed my behavior. You're questioning, where did that come from? Oh boy, who you
Yeah,
said you listen to, but will not follow.
but and I think that brings up a good point. A lot of people we'll start looking at we only start following people that's like-minded like us. And to me, I think that kind of lead us into a wrong direction as well because we start becoming closed-minded all the time. And so for me, that's why I like to listen to different people. And that's why I say I kind of agree with what you're saying, as far as I might listen to that person, but I probably won't be led by 'em because at the same time, it's just like when somebody, in our profession, they approach you with something, and
Mm.
you only hearing the one side of something. Man, my husband is this, or my wife did that, and this is the problem. And if I'm only getting a portion of that, I like to hear everything
Mhm.
because I can jump on your side regardless. And once I jump on your side, now it's us against them. But then next thing you know, you hear that other part, and it's just like, oh man, I got bamboozled. So that's why I like to hear everything.
Yeah, like in that certain communication styles, we are so eager just to like be prepared just to hear someone's pitch. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, here they come with something. So you're just looking for those, like, not the feelers, but like just give it to me direct because that's all I want to hear. This, that, and the other. You don't want to hear all about that. So that whole story, you're not interested in. Just just give me a little bit. What's the pitch? Yeah.
So so in my employment classes I teach, they call it the STAR method.
Star
So
method.
yeah, so I just need the situation, the task, the action, and the result of it. And
Mm.
once I get them things down, you can save me the story. Just give me what I'm asking and what I'm looking for. And so I tell people even when you go into an interview, they don't want to hear the whole drawn out story. Just give them the STAR method. And once you give that right there, hey, we can move on and keep it. What is that? What's the kiss method too? Keep it simple, stupid. Hey, that's what being in the military do to you. You just all these acronyms.
Mm.
And let's see another comment that put in there. The person answered no, and they don't have to be like them for them to fully comply with what is being put out to them. And and if this goes back to the leadership portion over here more than the being led by. So if I'm a boss or I have a boss, I'm gonna listen to him to a certain degree, in the simple fact that yes, there is a job. I'm getting paid to do whatever, and I know I need to comply with their orders or their wishes. Now, that's the professional side. But on the personal side, do I have to actually agree with that person? And I would say, no, I don't have to agree with them on the personal side. And that's why, they always say, well, I'm just going to keep this professional. Yeah, because I'm getting a paycheck from these people. So
I think there's like a saying like there are great men, but that doesn't mean they're always great leaders. So, they can have all the package, but they don't necessarily, make for great leaders, because are we looking at this from like a standpoint of like looking at the person like a full package, like having an ethical or moral compass, um, or is just a different belief system? Like, what are we approaching this
I think it comes in both ways. I mean, and we can look at it in both ways. And I think, and that's why I kind of packaged it all together instead of just, singling it all out. Because to me, there is a difference. And here, I'm gonna post this comment by Miss Ann Wise. She said, I think for me, if it doesn't violate my values or lead me down a dark path, I'm open to listen and ponder about embracing. I mean, before embracing. So, straight to your point, that was it right there. As far as people talking to me, I want to listen to what they have to say. But, and as far as the leadership go, yeah, the values that really plays a big part of me.
Mhm.
So, would you ever work for somebody or work for somebody who didn't share the same values as you did?
That you just don't get around that.
Huh?
You can't get around that in workspaces.
Yeah, you can.
How do you get around that?
What, that you don't work for somebody that share the same values?
Work with or work for?
Work with. We'll go with.
Yeah, I don't think you can get around that. Not working with someone, everyone is not going to share. Not everyone has a shared vision. The-
Well, what about work for?
I mean, that's why I'm saying like there can be great people. They might not necessarily be great leaders. Everyone has their hangups. Everyone has, what is that? Different strokes for different folks, and
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have to necessarily agree on everything, and it all depends on the type of work. And I'm more like a policy procedure type person. So I guess if they're not like upholding like what that vision is for our organization or the work we're doing, or they don't have an ethical value or legality to them, no, I would not.
And
But
see, and that's basically why I was going with it with whenever you said that right there. So, we're taking for instance that the company Enron, we understand what they were. So if that place actually came back online, would you go and work for them? Understanding what happened with them. And for me, I don't share the same values as that company. So of course I would not I wouldn't choose to go work there.
I was
So
just like in work groups where you just, you know, you're up under the umbrella of an organization. Yeah, you can't get around that.
well, and that times like that, hey, sometimes we got to move on. I guess that's what that entrepreneurship is all about, right? So then, Miss Wash,
That's myself.
you say you can't work with yourself.
Sometimes.
Let me have this personal one-on-one conversation with me.
Hmm.
So she did put on there, yes, as long as I can stick to my values, and that's a true thing. Because, like you said, not everybody is gonna think the same way we think, and which is cool. And because if we did, just imagine what type of world we would live in if we all think the same way. It would be rough.
That group think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that herd mentality.
Hmm.
So just to touch on a couple points that he had mentioned in the video with the seven communications, gossip, judging, negativity, complaining, excuses, lying, and then the D word that we was talking about earlier. Uh, dogmatism. You
Mhm.
know, as a leader, if you have these certain qualities and then you wondering why your people are not coming to you and you didn't express any of these qualities, I would think that it's, pretty understandable why they're not coming to you. And reason being is because look, if I know you gossiping to if I know you a gossip, you gossiping to me, I know it's gonna come back around. You finna go start gossiping about somebody else, and then we all everybody business is out there. And then you
Mhm.
want me to sit and listen to you as a leader? Nah. And then
Mhm.
and I mean just looking at all these different things on here, it's quite it's it's refreshing to know to me that people are not as naive as you might think they are. And the simple fact of saying, all right, then, if I see these different qualities in people, and then I'm sitting up here thinking, well, why is it they not listening to me? But you exhibited these characteristics. Hey, maybe I need to change my ways. But with
Mhm.
that being said, if you had a leader or somebody who exhibit these characteristics, is there a coming back?
I think so. I think, oftentimes, like, especially like in organizations, where we have upper management, middle management, oftentimes, you know, work groups or individuals haven't even had a conversation with these known leaders, right? And it's all in observation. It's a difference in between being and doing, right? Your behaviors, what you say you're gonna do, and yeah, I think if they've displayed any of this gossiping, judge, any of this, ineffective communication style, I think they can come back from it once they like mentioned or made everyone aware that they've made these mistakes. If they're open to feedback, I think you can come back from
Open to feedback. Ooh,
that.
ooh. Hey,
Yeah,
you might start touching on people's toes. You start giving them feedback now.
good leaders accept feedback, constructive criticism. Yeah.
I'm one of them people. I relish in stuff like that. I want somebody to provide the feedback to me. So whatever it is, some things could just be a personal thing, and if it's just a personal thing, and you're not liking me for whatever personal reason, all right, I can't change that. But other things, depending on what it is, then yes, I want to hear about it because it could be a character flaw in me that I need to work on and adjust myself.
As long as you consider the source, who's
There you
breathing,
go. There you go.
you can
Look at
take
you
it or
trying to
leave
tie everything back into the topic.
it. You can take it or leave it. Yeah.
So Miss Anwar said feedback is a gift. Yes, it is. And for some odd reason, a lot of people don't have that gift or don't perceive that gift.
I just thank Miss Ann for coming through. She always come through.
I know. Hey, Ann, I think it's about that time for you to come back in and do another show. So we'll be looking for you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a break here, and I'm gonna go back into the video again, and we're gonna let him describe what the word hell means in this perspective here.
HAIL, not HELL.
Listen, I'd like to suggest that there are four really powerful cornerstones, foundations that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world. Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. I'm talking about this definition: to greet or acclaim enthusiastically, which is, I think, how our words will be received if we stand on these four things. So what do they stand for? see if you can guess. The H, honesty, of course. Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well. For two reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those two things simultaneously. So, hail. Also, now that's what you say, and it's like the old song, it is what you say, it's also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox. This instrument is incredible.
All right, so we get back to it now. I'll get back to my screen.
One day.
I know. All right, there we go. So the word hell, honest. So be clear and straight. The A for authenticity, be yourself. The I for integrity, be your own word. And then L for love. Love, wish them well. So understanding those principles right there, I think is to me it's pretty straightforward and simple. You know, if you can display those characteristics into your everyday life, no matter if you are a supervisor, if you're a leader, a mentor, a parent, or anything, or even a friend, to me that right there says it all. Whenever we start talking about communication and being that person we want somebody else to be within our lives.
Yeah, I really think it starts with just bringing your authentic self to the table. And then everything else kind of falls into line. That honesty, that integrity, that love, bringing your authentic self to the table, being very open, transparent.
You know, I think the only problem with that is what if your authentic self don't have those characteristics in it?
Well, I mean, you're still standing in your truth. That's just how you present. So, but hey, that's being honest with everybody else. That's who you are. And that says this is me and I'm not going to change. This is what you get. And hey, wishing you well. I'm quick to hit somebody with a take care. So, hey.
You said you're wishing well for real.
For real. You know, if you ever hear that from me, that means you won't see me on the screen no more.
Oh, that's jacked up.
Take care and go be with the Most High.
You know what? Let me write them down. So if I ever hear that, I understand.
Kick rocks with open toe shoes.
That almost that reminds me of my grandmother. One of the things she used to say, she used to tell people, it's like, you can hit the front door or the back door. It don't matter which one you hit. Just make sure you hit it. And then she's like, you can go get the book. And I do mean the boogity book. And that's one of the things that I always listen to and heard.
The boogity book.
The boogity book. Yes. Yep. One of the things that he did mention in that video, farther along in that video, he said that we vote for politicians with lower voices because we associate that with authority and power. And I've never probably even thought about that. But then whenever you hear somebody with a deep voice, that's, you know, I think subconsciously, that's what you think of. You know, man, because I mean, if you think about it, as from a woman's perspective, And this is, I would say, in relationships, would you want a guy that has a deeper voice or a softer voice?
Okay. A very deep Lord be the guide today. You know, a deep voice that's demands attention, that says hello, like that alert comes on. So yeah, it's all in presentation. You come across it delivers confidence, and it also delivers like subject matter. This is my expertise. I know
Mm.
what I'm talking about. So of course you're gonna perk your ears up. You're gonna draw attention to that person because they just elude this confidence of I know, listen to me, don't get left behind. Like you better pay attention. So yeah, it's that I was talking about earlier, that power differential. Like you can shift the room, you can shift perspective just in how you present and articulate. Yeah.
And that kind of leads to some of the other things that he was talking about. People prefer people with smooth voices. So if they like cracking in and out and all that other stuff is just like, oh, what's really going on? No monotone voice, use fluctuation. And then he also mentioned silence is good, which some people don't know how to practice that. And
Yeah.
they just seem like, hey, the more if I continue to talk and talk and talk, they're gonna continue to listen to listen to listen. And yeah, we already know how that goes.
I saw this Plato. Wise men talk because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something.
And that's a true statement.
Yeah.
Another thing, you say pace. So speeding up to show the excitement, or showing, or slowing down to emphasize things. But because we all get excited, and it's just like we just hurry up and start talking real fast, and then it's just like, okay. And I tell people, maybe you're not speaking fast, maybe I'm just listening slow. I don't know, but is there any kind of way you can help me out? You
Yeah.
know, so slow it down a little bit, and then whenever there is something to emphasize, stick it. And it's just like, okay, then now that's a point that's made. Also, pitch can give you a different meaning depending on how you use it. Some people with that higher pitched voice, and next thing you know, they may bring it down real deep and low. And then, of course, the word volume. Uh, some of us are just a little bit louder than others, and it's understandable. Everybody was created differently, but I guess depending on, especially as a leader or as a parent, if I'm always a quiet person, how can I really get in front of people to say, hey, y'all really need to do this, and then everybody expect something that's really gonna happen.
Mhm. You have to know your audience. You have to meet people where they are. It's You got to ease them into it. Like there's stages, right? To like giving like a pitch and trying to get that buy-in. So it's just like a good love story. You got to get in there. You got to introduce the characters. You got to, set the scene, give imagery. Like you kind of have to really reel them in. And it takes time sometimes with that pace.
So maybe sometimes a little bit too much time.
Yeah, and we still talk about leadership. So
Hey, that's true.
yeah.
I mean, because if you think about it, even with leadership, it's still a relationship. Either way it go, so either way it go, you're gonna have to do all that. Just like in a relationship, you need to find out who you are actually leading. Because if you don't, this one thing is not gonna work for that other person. I can tell you that.
Either you'll adapt or your followers will need to adapt. So yeah, it's finding what works.
And hopefully, y'all can just meet in the middle. So it's not that pendulum switch is not going, left to right real hard. Yeah. We can meet in the middle. We good to go. Don't start dancing. Don't start dancing.
No, I was thinking of like the, at Six Flags. You remember that? I don't
Yeah.
know, that big boat.
The boat.
Like, you going down like.
So the question is, what about the boat that actually flips over?
It don't. Did it flip?
It's one that they have that actually flips over.
I don't think I was that too adventurous to get on that. Let's go this way.
I do the half moon and not the full moon.
I'm not that adventurous.
So So with that being said, we're gonna jump over to our we're gonna jump into our sponsorship portion of the show whenever we start talking about some businesses and stuff. So let me pull that little video up for everybody to y'all, because y'all know Christmas is coming. Hey, what we got? What, 2 weeks?
Ask me what I done bought.
Well, I hope nothing, because you haven't asked me for what my sizes are. All right, we are back. So notice how the screen just went to the business opportunities in there. Whenever I did mention something about Stephanie and her not the gift giving. So I just put that back on there just so it give her a couple of ideas. So just putting it out there, Stephanie.
I'll get you a candle and I'll get you slayed.
Yeah, I am looking a little rough today. Let's not talk about that though. Hey, we in the show. We're in the show meeting, all right?
All right.
But I think just to wrap this up, we wrapping it up a little bit early because we just wanted to come on here and then just provide everybody things to consider, or maybe things you should consider when listening to different people. Not everybody's out there for the good and everything. There's a lot of people out there for themselves, and if you one of them people, I mean, I really highly advise change your ways. It's a bad thing that we out here on our own anyway. But whenever you just out there just trying to get it how you live, come on, be considerate of everybody else. That's one of my biggest things. Because we don't all need to be the crab in the bucket. Let's be out there, and especially as we go into the holidays and going into the new year, hey, let's change our way of thinking and be more positive and motivate others more than anything. So with that being said, Steph, you got anything to wrap us up?
I guess I got a little quote or something. Let me find it. Let me find it. Let's see. Why don't you go ahead and start? You guys.
Yeah, I actually got two of them today. So the first one is the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is communication to a relationship, no matter what type of relationship it is like oxygen is to life. Without it, it dies. So don't be a leader, supervisor, parent, whomever. Be the person because your communication isn't great and effective.
Mm-hmm.
Let the relationship die upon that very thing.
Awesome. So I have one. The two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is giving out, communication is getting through. So it's more of a it's more of a dialogue, and it's a follow through in conversation. It's listening to, communication is both parties talking. And so, yeah, it's what you do with that information. So, yeah.
I hear it. I just don't process it. How about
I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
that? Hey y'all, actually, we will be going on a hot little hiatus, and it's just a little for us to enjoy just the Christmas break. So we will be coming back starting January the 9th. So uh, if there are any topics or anything that you would like for us to be working on, some little guest speakers, if you want to be a guest on the show, please hit us up. You can hit us up on any of these social media sites, YouTube, Facebook. If you're in the community, even if you're not part of the community, if you want to join, just look it up, the Door to Expansion community, and then we will accept you in there. Then just to give us some little words or whatever it is. Even especially if you have a business, let us know, and then we can highlight you as well. But until I guess January the 9th, I think that's really about it.
I'm
You guys
glad,
think
I'm glad you went ahead and approved my 2 weeks note, my 2 weeks, that vacation. I didn't think you was gonna approve it.
Hey, don't worry about it. You ain't gonna get paid for them 2 weeks either.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the time away, just to kind of just revamp, recharge, rejuvenate, and I hope everyone enjoys their holiday. So
Yep.
I hope
So
you're doing the same over these
so
next months.
if we don't hear from you or from us to y'all, have a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year, and please be safe out there. Cause woo, the world we in today. But with that being said, we out of here.
We out.